Thank you. I've changed my smelly shirt for, I think, a very appropriate colour for this last section, actually. Smelt like a wrestler's jockstrap out there, I tell you. Okay, so where now? Well, this section is about the control system coming down, because we're in a period where a dramatic shift in human awareness and human consciousness is in the process of taking shape. Some people call it the shift, sometimes I call it the vibrational quickening, but what I've been calling it for 20 years, because I came across this in the very earliest days after I met that psychic, that first psychic, I called it the truth vibrations. The first book I ever wrote after that awakening started, because it's ongoing, was called Truth Vibrations, or the Truth Vibrations. Because I came across this awareness. There seemed no evidence at the time, my goodness, that there was a vibrational change in the process of coming. I understand it more now, mine, and we'll get into it, but I had no idea then. And what it was going to do was act like a spiritual alarm clock, and it was going to wake people up. It was going to wake people up from this slumber, this coma that we've been in for so long. And also, my goodness me, as this truth proved to be true 20 years on, that it was going to bring to the surface all that had remained hidden. That the truth was not only coming out, it couldn't be stopped from coming out, because this vibrational change was bringing it to the surface. Like I say, 20 years ago, awakening, new consciousness, what? Truth coming out? Oh, you must be joking. 20 years on, my goodness, look at it. I'm fortunate to travel the world speaking, and I'm being invited to more and more countries you never think you're being invited to. And so I can see that this is not just happening in Britain, not just happening in America. It's happening all over the world. And all the differences is those that are staying in mind for now, and those who are opening mind to this change and perceiving self and the world in a completely different way. So I've been saying through the day, there's a base vibrational construct, the base vibration of this virtual reality coming out of the black holes, which triggers as it goes through its cycle, which appears in the play-out world as like a time loop. It triggers different information coming from the suns, and we decode that information, and as it changes, so the information changes, and so therefore the epoch changes, the yuga changes. And we're now at this cusp where we're going from one epoch, one vibrational information epoch, into another one. And this new one is dramatically more expansive, dramatically more enlightened in the level of awareness that we are going to have access to. And the control system, which is a manifestation of this epoch, cannot survive this epoch, and that's why it's doomed. And we're now in the cusp of that change from one kind of world experience into another one. It's just another stage on the circuit of experience. And so, while for a few years yet, it's not going to seem like the control system's going down, because it's going to be throwing everything at us, because it's going to be desperate, there is no way that our children, young people, and grandchildren are going to live out their lives, as appears to be the case now, in an Orwellian, fascist, global state. No way. This changing epoch, changing information, is starting to be activated within the Earth grid and, of course, within the human grid. This new information is starting, for those that open themselves to it, instead of stay closed in density, because if you stay in a dense state, then these higher vibration energies are not going to impact like you if you open yourself to them and connect with them. But those that are awakening, this new photon information, this more expanded perception, we're starting to integrate it, and we're starting to get insights from it, because it contains information that hasn't been around in this period we've been through. Now it is, and suddenly it's like, oh, I see it now. Oh, I get it now. Why didn't I get it before? Because you're now decoding a totally different level of information that's becoming available, and it's encouraging us, it's pressing us, it's urging us to open to all that is and change the way we perceive the world. What certainly is true is some strange things are happening in the sun. The sun goes through cycles of less activity and more activity, the so-called sunspot cycle, which also produces the solar flares and all that business. And it's kind of quite a predictable cycle of some 11 years, and it goes into a down period, and then another one starts. But what's happening now is that the down period has been bewildering scientists, because the new period, the new sunspot cycle of activity, which will push temperatures up a bit, and these bloody global warmers will go orgasmic when it does, is not becoming active. There is no one, this is something I read in a scientific magazine, there is no one alive today, or nearly alive today, who has experienced a down state of sunspot activity of the kind that we've been through in the last few years. This is where temperatures have been falling. This one is the so-called near solar minimum in January 2005 of sunspot activity, and this was the sun yesterday in terms of sunspot activity. Something's changing, and other things about the sun are not reacting as they normally would. But I suspect that when it starts again, and it will, we're going to see some dramatic activity in the sun. And that will impact upon not just the Earth's energy field, it will impact on our consciousness, our awareness, and things will start to speed up. Because this new information construct coming out of the sun is symbolized by Neil Haig and myself as a lion. As the real human being, I symbolize as a lion also. And basically, these truth vibrations are going to dramatically, as we go through these next few years, dramatically affect human perception, human awareness, and human potential as this new information becomes decoded and the awareness potential expands and we access a greater part of all possibility. Another thing these truth vibrations are going to do and are doing is to break that wall, that line of troops on the left brain, and we're going to be accessing more and more of our right brain potential. So our creativity, our insight, our ability for what people would call genius today, it's the natural human state, is going to more and more expand. We're heading in for an incredible time. It might not seem like it like for a few years, like I say, because these people will be battening down the hatches and trying to do everything they can to stop it, but that is what awaits us. In many ways, I wish I wasn't 58. I wish I was like 28, because I'd like to live through a bit more of this, but I'll have had me fill by the time I'm done, which is bloody well not yet, I'll tell you. So when so as we are impacted by these truth vibrations, because we open ourselves to them, then we break out of these boxes. And these are the people who are not being touched by that yet, but my goodness me, I'm seeing people now change dramatically in no time. I was walking through where I was speaking in Santa Fe last year, and this guy walks past me. He'd flown in from Austin, Texas, and he said, 3 months ago, mate, I thought you were mad. Words to that effect. He said, now I get it. And he got it so quick, and we're going to see this happening. People changing dramatically, and also, as I understood 20 years ago, that all that's been hidden, the curtain is being pulled back. And we're in for some shocks. I mean, of course, what we've talked about today is shocking to most people who have seen the world in another way, but the shocks are going to go on, because what's been going on in this world behind the scenes is nothing like what we think it is. And these truth vibrations, this energetic change, this new epoch of enlightenment and expansion, and people call love and harmony and respect, connection, is going into these dark places, these structures that are held together by low vibrational density, and breaking them up. Not, like a war. It's a new epoch coming. And as the new epoch comes, the energetic change is going to break up the denser structure of society and belief. And like I say, if these guys think, as they do, because they're accessing here, not here, because of their mental and emotional state, that it's a done deal, well, they're in for a bit of a shock. Because, when you've got a dam of water, it can take a long, long time before the cracks appear. But from the cracks appearing to collapse can be a very, very short time. And already, if you look from this perspective, the cracks are appearing. And the first crack is when people say, I've had a freaking belly full of this. I ain't taking this anymore. Then the cracks start to appear. And what we're going to see in the next 10 years is this control system, increasingly as the years pass and these truth vibrations get more powerful, we're going to see this control system come down, because a new awareness is being breathed into this reality, and a control system based on suppression of awareness therefore cannot survive that change. Now, another perspective on why the control system is going crazy now. As I say, they can see down what we call a timeline further than we can when we're in this reality, because they're in another reality looking in. So they could see, they don't know the scale of it because they can't get out here where it's being orchestrated from, and they can get here. But they can get a feeling, and they have had an awareness that this energetic change was coming, and how it could potentially affect the slaves in terms of waking them up. It is absolutely no coincidence whatsoever that it is now, of all times, in this experience within this reality, when these truth vibrations are manifesting themselves and quite demonstrably changing the way people perceive self in the world, that this control system is at its peak in trying to suppress humanity, control humanity. It's absolutely in sync, because this moon matrix can only influence human perception if humans stay within its vibrational frequency, within its hack. The truth vibrations are taking us out of that frequency range, and therefore it's losing its influence on awakening people by the day, as we start to perceive and see and become aware of things that we weren't before when we were connected to the hack. And all these things, destabilizing us chemically through food and drink, rewiring the body genetically through genetically modified food, what they're doing to the kids, the drugs, mobile phones, and all this microwave soup that we now live in, microchips especially, they're all designed to externally suppress or internally suppress, in terms of food, etc., the human body computer, to stop it accessing these truth vibrations. It seems to be, on the face of it, that they're trying to grab more and more control. The truth is, it is a desperate, desperate attempt to hold on to the control they've had thus far. That's what it's about. It's battening down the hatches to stop the control system coming down. In part because it has many expressions, including creating earthquakes and dramatic extremes of weather. This technology known as HAARP in Alaska, and it's now got other organizations connected to it and technology connected to it increasingly around the world, it bounces radio waves off the ionosphere, the highest part of the atmosphere, and back to Earth. And what it is in major part is a underpinning, a supporting role to this moon matrix to create a low vibrational atmosphere, in the lower atmosphere where we live in and operate in like this, again, it's targeting this morphic field, as the Satanists call it, and some others do too, to keep it in a low vibrational state. It's fighting the truth vibrations. They know what they're doing, on one level anyway. And one of the other things that HAARP can do, and it's in the patents of the technology, it can send out radio waves carrying information, thoughts, on the wavelength of human brain waves, and it can impose those thoughts on the brain, which we then manifest through as our own thinking. That's also part of this, and it's also part of this defense mechanism against this epoch change. And if they change and affect this energy field we live in, we will be affected by it if we stay in density and closed mind state. I'm absolutely convinced, have been for years, that part of the creation of this like sub-reality underpinning, supporting the moon matrix, which was okay up to this point, didn't need anything else. But now this energetic change is taking place. They're bringing the troops in, if you like, to underpin it. And I'm convinced that part of the chemtrails, which kind of pollute our skies and stuff and contain metals and barium and aluminium and all this stuff, is part of creating this sub-reality. What the truth vibrations are doing is healing this schism. It's part of what it's doing. And the schism has been this distortion in the metaphysical universe, the waveform information construct, has been playing out into the holographic play-out world for, what would you call it? Eons, for as long as we can remember. And it has manifested itself out as conflict and fractured personalities and all the rest of it. This is being healed all the time as these truth vibrations impact themselves and we move into this new epoch. And those that are tuning into it, it's healing these divisions. And when this changes, this must change. And the control system is a play-out holographic expression of the schism. So when the schism heals, as it's going to, this distortion, its outward holographic expression, the control system, must fall. That's why it's doomed. It cannot survive this energetic change because it is a manifestation of the distortion that is now being healed. The pieces are being put back in that have been taken out. A totally new era is in the process of moving into human experience, and this control system, it's doomed, and all its expressions are doomed. Not doomed like, let's have a mass bloody murder, mass killing, all the rest of it. Doomed in this reality because they're connected to something that's disappearing. There'll still be infinite consciousness, even those in the control system. They'll remember who they are eventually. It might take some time, and we'll be having a beer with them one day thinking, do you remember when you were stupid? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, God, mate, yeah. Oh, that's what we'll be doing at some point. So this epoch change is moving from a sense of division, left brain, where it sees everything as apart from everything else, sees everything in terms of structure and apartness. We're moving from that perception as this energetic construct changes to a perception of what comes from expanded consciousness and awareness, which is we're all one. We're all expressions of the same one consciousness, which again makes racism ridiculous, ludicrous, insane, the height of ignorance. And as the schism, the distortion is healed, so other expressions of the distortion will become what we call history. The police state, the energetic wars, once we're really in to this expanded awareness, the very idea of going to war. We have laws because of the distortion, because of the epoch we've been going through. We don't need laws in the state of awareness that we're going into, and our children and grandchildren will go even more into. You don't need to say we have a law against murder when murdering someone would never even enter your psyche. You don't need environmental protection laws when harming the planet because you know the planet and you are one anyway would never occur to you. You don't need these things. Laws are there to suppress overwhelmingly, but also expressions of laws are to try to mitigate for the distortion that manifests itself in distorted behavior. The idea of anyone going hungry in a world of plenty in the epoch we're entering, never even conceive it. You mean they used to let people starve? That's this mentality that we're moving out of, and we're at the cusp now of this change, which is a very interesting place to be. We're going back to that. We're going back to being connected to what we really are. And of course, 2012 is much talked about and will be more talked about as we get closer to it. I have a different view on that. You know, I should be saying, given I've been writing about these truth vibrations for 20 years, I should be saying, see, 2012 told you, yeah. No, I'm not saying that, actually. I think 2012 is a diversion. By 2012, yes, things will have moved on. Things will be changing. Amazing things will be taking place. There'll be big challenges, and there'll also be big, wonderful things starting to manifest by 2012 compared with now. But there'll be more so in 2013, more so in 2014, more so in 2015. This is an ongoing process as we move through the cusp out of one era, epoch, energetically, information, into another one. And so by the time it reaches where it's the natural state and the old epoch has gone altogether, you know, it's going to be down the road. But every year, every month, things are going to be moving on energetically. And there'll be things in 2012, and maybe a very good chance that manufactured things will happen in 2012 to focus attention as part of the diversion of the control system. It's quite possible that that will happen. But I don't see 2012 as some epoch-changing year. But there comes a point, and I don't think it's too far away at all, where the tipping point comes in this energetic change, where the irresistible force, which is the truth vibrations, then start to become the dominating state of awareness and perception in this reality. And then we're really moving. And I don't see that as too far away. Like I say, it takes a long time for a dam to crack, but not from then to it collapse.